To the CHGO White Sox postgame show, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow him at Ecknerall23. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. We will be joined later from Guaranteed Rate Field by our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber. We're being produced tonight by Sarah.
Hello.
Hello, and make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, join to become a diehard today. You get discounts for events, you get a t-shirt when you sign up, and most importantly, you get access to our CHGO Lounge where you get to chat with diehards alike. And we do want to give a shout out to our new diehards, Keith, Peter, Jonah, Matthew, and Caleb today.
My man.
Caleb.
Do you mean discounts on the event like our Sox Takeover?
Yes,
That's
Sarah.
on the 27th this month?
Very good job
Wow.
to plug the takeover
And you know
on May
what?
27th.
Caleb, who is Caleb Williams, can come to that takeover and get 20% off.
Yes, he can, and we expect him to be there, especially since Sarah just reminded him to come and use this 20% off discount.
Credit to me.
Credit to Sarah, big of you, to invite the franchise quarterback of Chicago to our White Sox takeover event. Anyways, if you haven't gotten tickets, check the link in the description and get your tickets today. The White Sox win 3-2. Thank you to Erick Fedde, who was very, very good through 6 innings. Had a tough 7th inning, but who cares? Jordan Leisure was sick. Fetti went 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, no walks, 3 Ks. We missed out on the Prize Picks entry that we gave out on the pregame show, but my call of the White Sox winner earlier today and of the White Sox winning the first 4 innings cashed. So let's go, Herb. We got some winners.
I think I said that the White Sox are going to win 5-3, and
Nice.
Fetty's going to shut them down, and then the bullpen's going to give up runs to the Cleveland Guardians, and then they're going to hang on to victory. I thought also the White Sox were going to score a couple of insurance runs, but they did not do that. That was really well. And Tom, he's not a Cub fan. He just went to the game, as all the Bears went the other day. They were just in town. If the White Sox were in town, he would have went to a White Sox game. But yes, Erick Fedde is a thing. We got to start talking about that guy being the White Sox representative as the all-star representative, because strong outing. The Cleveland Guardians, while you see the lineup, you're like, oh, that's not that great. You saw what happened in the 8th inning with those 2 guys. Erick Fedde made those 2 guys and Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor look silly all day long. So I'm very encouraged that that pitcher is the White Sox best pitcher, and not just that, he is one of the, I don't know, best pitchers in the American League, but he's up there.
I mean, so far, so good. I don't know if I want to anoint Erick Fedde, who had to go to the KBO, as one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah,
but
I said maybe.
An ERA of 3 is
Yeah.
pretty good. Hey, let's go. I'm not going to look over any bright spots on the White Sox. I mean, you're right. We brought up Corey Lee. We brought up Garrett Crochet as all-star representatives. We foolishly did not bring up Erick Fedde. Erick Fedde, likely the leader for all-star votes. Maybe Tommy Pham. He had an RBI and a run scored too, but maybe he'll be traded. But Fetti was fantastic. And I think the most impressive thing that we've seen from Fetti so far, obviously this is his second start against Cleveland. He gave up 3 solo shots, was still effective in that game. The White Sox got a win. As Josh Nelson has pointed out, I think the White Sox are now 8-0 when Erick Fedde has a start against the spread. So the White Sox are able to be competitive in Erick Fedde starts. But mainly, he's able to completely flip his pitch mix.
Yes.
Usually when he's going up against righties, he's mainly featuring his sinker and sweeper. He used his sinker the third most out of any of his pitches today. He used his sweeper fourth most out of any of his pitches. And since it was lefty heavy, this Guardian lineup, he relied on his cutter the most at 34% and his splitter 32%. It's not like these are dominant pitches. The cutter, 5 whiffs on 18 swings, 28% whiff rate, not bad. But then the splitter, 1 whiff on 18 swings, a 6% whiff rate. That's pretty tough and brutal. And then you look at the cutter and splitter when it comes to called strike plus whiff rate, 20% on the cutter, 11% on the splitter. But 10 fouls on the splitter, 7 on the cutter, and still just not getting a good contact, good squaring up of the baseball for the Guardians. The average exit velocity for Fetti so far in the year, 88.5. Average exit velocity tonight for the Guardians, 87.3. So he was better than typical, at least, at inducing weak contact. And the White Sox didn't have any glaring defensive issues except for Andrew Benintendi getting bailed out by the scorekeeper. Funny enough that we learned today, Andrew Benintendi's mom is the scorekeeper for the White Sox. That's very nice of the scorekeeper to not give him an error on not closing the ball.
A literal ball hit to his glove, in his glove, and he drops it. And they're like, no, that's just a hit by Bo Naylor. No, absolutely not. That's a hit for Bo Naylor instead of an error on our left fielder who messes up. But to get back to Fetti, he wasn't, striking people out, but as you said, inducing weak contact and getting people out early in the count. That's why he went into the 7th inning with under 80 pitches thrown by that time, because he was just getting people out at a constant pace and just all right, next. And that's what some people need to learn. He's a pitcher's pitcher. He understands, as you already went through, that I can't throw all these sleepers versus this lefty loaded lineup. I got to rely on my other pitches to get these guys out. And he did it. And he did it successfully today. He did it successfully versus the Twins a couple times out. And he's just one of those pitchers who adapts to what the other team is giving him. And that is a very rare skill you see in the major leagues, because the people are so hard-headed and oh, my stuff is this, that, and the other. I can get them out with my best stuff. I don't care about what they're throwing. But Erick Fedde's no, if you're going to have a bunch of lefties stacked against me throwing sweepers right into their swing path is a dumb thing. So I'm going to get them out with my fastball. I'm going to get them out with the cutter up in the zone, and you're going to induce weak contact, so you're out. I don't care if I get strikeouts. I get outs. That's what I want, outs. And if a couple White Sox pitchers can learn from him to understand outs is more important than strikeouts.
Well, yeah, and going from a first overall pick, or from a first round pick in the major league draft, to having to go over to Korea to completely flip your career over is going to cause some ego death, and you'll probably be able to swallow throwing cutters and splitters against lefties as long as it works and as long as it gets results. And Erick Fedde has done a great job of that so far. Again, 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, 6 hits, 3 Ks, no walks for Erick Fedde. Ben Lively was bad for Cleveland today, 5 2/3, 3 earned runs, 8 hits allowed, 2 Ks, and 3 walks. The White Sox had a pretty good idea of what Lively was going to throw and feature, and they were pretty patient as well. They waited for Lively to fall behind in the count, and especially early on in the first 3 innings, they were able to jump on him. You had a weak fly out from Sheets to left center field, which was frustrating because he got the pitch that he wanted. He just didn't actually drive it with authority, and that's the one thing that I'm kind of getting worried about Sheets is we're seeing less and less pulled balls from Gavin Sheets. Some of them still falling, but it's getting back towards last year's territory where he's just kind of slicing and filleting balls to left field for the sake of making contact and getting singles. Felt like the same thing here. You get a 90-mile-per-hour fastball and you're a 6'4" hulking guy, pull the damn ball or hit it out to center field. I mean, we saw what Jim Thome can do, and, I thought you learned from Jim Thome this offseason. Didn't Jim Thome say, hey, if a guy's throwing 84 high and belt away, like that guy from the Twins did, hit it out to the fan deck? Didn't Jim Thome tell him that? That would be good advice. But anyways, Pham led off with the double. Sheets had the weak fly out to left center field, and then Vaughn nearly hit a home run, but with an RBI double to right center field, made it 1-0 for the Sox in the first inning. 105.5 off the bat, 380 feet. We thought it was going out.
Yeah, we did. He had a couple today where he's Warning track boy. But, yeah, that was great. It was a 3-1 count, which he worked to get to that 3-1 count. And the worst thing I see the White Sox doing, what you just talked about with Gavin Sheets, where it's a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. Crush it. Pull it. But if you're going to do it like Vaughn did it, he let it get deep a little bit, and he hit it to right center field, and it was absolutely tattooed, as you talked about the miles per hour off the bat. That's what you worked for. Crush it. It was a guy like Blake Lively that wasn't throwing fast stuff. So if you want to sit back a little bit longer, cool, but, have it with some authority like Andrew Vaughn was showing today. And we saw some other hitters, and I know you're going to get to the rundown in a little bit, but it was good to see them attacking this pitcher. He got, I think, 4 doubles early in this game because they were seeing him, and he was throwing a lot of junk outside of the zone, and they worked their counts, got a favorable count, and then crushed him.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a bad fly out by Aloy in the first inning, and then Benny grounded out to end that first inning threat. But then in the second inning, our guy, Bryan Ramos, has been making one hell of an impression. He goes 2 for 4 today with a run scored. He led off the second with a double, 102.7 miles per hour, 394 feet. It seemed like he also was about to leave the yard, and you'd bring up the leadoff doubles for the White Sox in the bottom of the first. Pham led off for a double with a double, bottom of the second. Ramos led off with a double in the bottom of the third. Jimenez led off with a double, and then in the bottom of the fourth, Nicky Lopez couldn't do it. Flied out to left field. But, yeah, the first 3 innings were led off by doubles. But Bryan Ramos, not only in that hit, but then later on in the third inning, he pulled a ball for a single, and it was only 78.9 miles per hour off the bat, but there was just something about the way that he attacked it, the way that he went down to get it, the way that he went to go put his barrel on it, the way that he twisted and was athletic in his swing. He just looks, 22 years old and fresh and clean and healthy, but 2, he looks extremely aggressive and ready to make an impact. I just love the way that Bryan Ramos is attacking pitches. He sees that Ben Lively's throwing 90, and he's like, hey, this isn't anything that I haven't seen in AA or AAA. Let's go out and jump it, and Bryan Ramos is making one hell of an impression. I'm glad that he's not showing any fear, and, I mean, we see major leaguers that are like 32, 33 years old that are going up there with fear at the plate. Bryan Ramos is 22 and said, I don't give a shit what my batting average, and sorry for swearing, my batting average was in AA. I'm trying to make this Major League Baseball team. You guys gave me a Major League jersey. That's your problem.
Yeah, something to be said about attacking the opportunity you got, and that's what Bryan Ramos has done ever since he got up here. On that second inning double, he was down 2 strikes. It was a mistake by, I was going to say Blake Lively, Ben Lively.
Same guy.
Middle sinker, and he crushed it. It was 102.7 miles per hour off the bat, and he doesn't miss it. And you could see so many White Sox hitters in the past just see a ball down the middle and just, pop it up or look at that ball for strike 3. No, that guy is aggressive in the zone. If you're going to throw him a pitch on 2 strikes, he's going to be offering at it and hitting it really hard. I'm very encouraged by the early start by him. Is he this? I don't think so, but hell, let's keep this going. I don't care when one comes back. And that's my man, 50 grand. Hey, Yohan. That bench is you, or that second base is you, or first base, that's you, man. That's Bryan Ramos. When he's here, as he's doing this, Yohan, you ain't here next year. It's Bryan Ramos' time. And my guy Beef said that's his cousin, his play cousin.
Absolutely. Hey, if you got Ramos, TA was my play cousin. Yeah. I get to, 7 was not my number, but I had Anderson on the back of the jersey, right? So I'm cool with it. You're signing like Herb from, where are you from?
Wheaton.
Yeah, you're sounding from Herb from Wheaton. Herb on the car phone. It's calling it.
Hey, this Bryan Ramos.
This Moncada guy sucks. He's making $25 million for what?
This guy's lazy.
I think if we're, truly going to think, what do the White Sox do with Bryan Ramos? I think you're absolutely right that he is earning a major league spot, but, sorry, Danny Mendick. Sorry, Zach Remillard. Get off my team. Like, that's fine. And also, Andrew Vaughn, go down to AAA. I mean, they could just option him. There's plenty of options for him. If Gavin Sheets still is, filleting balls to left field, you could option him down to AAA. Yohan Moncada could play first base. Chris Getz said that they would try him at second base, they would try him at first base, they would try him in the outfield. If Bryan Ramos is truly winning a position here, move Moncada to first base and see if you have something at that position. I don't think that he could still play second. I don't think he could play up the middle defensively with his injuries, but he might be able to play first base, especially, as it's not the hot corner. It's an easier position. I think that Moncada could play that. I don't know if he could play right field, but Gavin Sheets handles it fine. Like, I'm fine with Moncada trying a different position, showing that he has some versatility, and giving Ramos that playing time at third.
The reason why I'm saying this is because when he got hurt this year, it was pretty much the death nail for Yoan Moncada and his White Sox career. I know he'll be coming back eventually, probably in July or August, but that'll be it. He won't play past this year for the Chicago White Sox. Because his contract next year is going to be $25 million. The White Sox will be like, no, I'm good. But Bryan Ramos, the youth of this White Sox team and the youth of their farm system, bring up these guys when they're ready to go. And if you got more people down in the minor leagues ready to go, eager to show what they have at the major league level, please bring them up. Bring them up immediately, because I'm loving what I'm seeing from Bryan Ramos. Even though the numbers weren't good down in AAA or AA, I don't see how he wasn't attacking, how he wasn't great down in AA, because the player that we've seen in this week has been nothing short of better than I've ever thought he would be, because I thought he was a lost prospect after seeing his average this year. I was like, okay, it's going to be another year for him.
Baseball's weird. I mean, you could be hitting the ball right on the screws, 108 miles per hour. I think, Josh Naylor had one that he hit 109.2, but it was immediately, right at Tommy Pham in the third inning or so. I mean, sometimes you just get bad luck in baseball, and that explains the 182 average. But it seems like the process is stayed up for Bryan Ramos. We're going to take a break here. Jared saying, how haven't they optioned Vaughn yet? Makes zero sense. It's mainly just because there isn't a better player to call up, especially on the 40-man roster. I mean, who'd they get rid of to bring up Remillard?
Pape Rodriguez, right?
Not Pape. Though recently, because Remillard's back on the team. Anyways, you just saw them make a move. It was Grossman, right? Yeah, because Grossman gets traded for the AA reliever. Their best option to bring up is Remillard, and I get that's because they really don't have a need for anyone to play, and Remillard's more of just a bench situation, but the reason why they haven't called Vaughn down is because, there's no one else to replace him. I think that's why when Moncada comes back, there's a guy to replace him. Hey, let's see if he can play first base. Let's take a break, let you know about our friends over at CD1 Price Cleaners. It's in the name, folks. They charge the same one low price for any garment. They're going to save you money. Customers save over 30% on their dry cleaning bill by switching to CD1 Price Cleaners. Other cleaners charge a different price for every garment. Plus, they upcharge you, and you may pay a different price each time you visit. No, not at CD1 Price Cleaners, my friend. You pay the same low price each and every time, and they offer a fast turnaround. They'll have your order ready the same or next day. Other cleaners will take 2 to 4 days to have your clean garments ready, and once your garments are ready, they'll shoot you a text once your order is ready for pickup. And not only do they wash and fold your laundry, not only do they offer dry cleaning, they'll wash those pesky blankets and comforters for you. They'll tailor and alter your clothing, and they'll wash all your area rugs if you need to get those freshened up, or any leather that you have. Maybe you're putting your leather away from the season. So go visit chgo.cdone.com. The link is also in the description. That's chgo.cd1.com. The link is in the description. And once you're there, you can pick from an in-store coupon or online pickup and delivery coupon options. Thank you to our friends over at CD1 Price Cleaners.
When I'm chilling in the summer, it says, Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy says summer to me. Like, it's in the damn name. You got lemonade, you got beer, and if you go to Guaranteed Rate Field and go to the Liney's Lounge, go and grab yourself Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy. But I know you're saying to me, Herb, if the baseball season's over, which we have plenty of time for this baseball season, so go to the Liney's Lodge at Guaranteed Rate Field and get yourself one. But if the baseball season's over, what type of drinks does Leinenkugel's offer for me when the baseball season is over? I got you, folks. I have the original, which I have one more left in the refrigerator. The other day, Vinny was very apologetic that he took one of those originals. It's like, they're in the refrigerator to be drank. Go ahead, enjoy. As long as this Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy's in there, I'm going to be drinking all of them. So y'all better watch out. They have the original lager, light lager, Lakeside Cherry, Juicy Peach, Berry Weiss, Northwoods Amber, Dark Lager, and of course, Honey Weiss, which is made with real Wisconsin honey. So you know that's good. And if you've tried any of their beers, you know that Leinenkugel brings the flavor for whatever occasion that you're celebrating. For over 150 years, Leinenkugel has combined German brewing traditions with Wisconsin innovation. You don't have to just pick one. Leinenkugel's popular variety packs come with 4 favorites for you to try out. Flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugels, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Leine.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO. Or pick up Leinenkugels pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Leinenkugels, flavor the moment, celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes. Are you going to start saying that to yourself in the mirror?
No.
Jacob
Leinenkugel Brewing Company.
Jacob
Leinenkugel Brewing Company. Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company.
Yeah, we'll work on it on the ride home. Shout out to Peyton, too, for the super chat. $5 super chat from Peyton. $5 to celebrate a Sox win. Woo! Beating Cleveland always warms my heart. LOL. And 2, shout out to Beeflo if he's hanging out in the comments. I really do appreciate the video that he took. And if you do have any kids listening with you right now, you might want to teach them a swear word here or maybe turn it down for a second. But I really do appreciate just Beeflo staring into the camera saying, fuck Cleveland. Because fuck Cleveland.
Indeed. I mean,
first off, the umpire still doesn't know what their nickname is. He's out here calling them their dead name. I'm cool with that. Let's just call them the Guardians.
It's been years.
Franchise that was named that for 100 years. We're cool. We don't need to relive that. And then also,
on the jersey.
It's on the jersey, right?
Today it said
Cleveland.
But just call them Cleveland.
Right. There's a big G on the shoulders. But in the 8th inning, we were reminded why we hate Cleveland so much, and it's because that switch hitting third baseman who's like 5'6".
Yes.
It's Short King season. I think it's a National Short King week, so shout out to Jose Ramirez. But Jose Ramirez hit his 33rd home run against the White Sox since 2015. That is the most of any opponent since 2015. Miguel Sano is second on that list with 23 against the White Sox. But it begs the question, which player has dominated the one single opponent the most since 2015? J-Ram is 7th on the list with 33 homers against the White Sox. That's the 7th most against a single opponent since 2015. Herb Lawrence, can you name the 6 people above J-Ram?
I cannot, but can you give me a hint of where they are at? Like, give me the team they hit it against, and maybe I can do it.
Okay, so there's 3 entries from the AL East.
Mm-hmm.
There's an entry and the 2 entries from the AL West and 1 from the NL East.
I don't know if he's going to make it because he doesn't hit a lot of home runs in general, but I remember that one year where Gleyber Torres was crushing the Orioles. No?
No.
Am I on the same team, though?
There's a teammate.
I'm going to go with Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge against Baltimore is number 2. He has 39 against Baltimore.
Okay. Trying to think of a person. What's this guy's name?
Can I give you
Bryce Harper?
Bryce Harper
versus the Nationals.
He played
Mets.
for the Nationals.
Phillies. Braves.
There you go. Bryce Harper 3rd with 37 homers. So you got number 2 in Judge, and you got number 3 in Harper. Judge versus Baltimore, 39 homers. Harper versus Atlanta, 37 homers. Don't think too hard is one of the clues I'll give you.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout is number 1.
Versus the Mariners.
46 homers against the Mariners. He has dominated the Mariners. So if you ever think, oh, wow, Jose Ramirez kills the Chicago White Sox, just think about what the STTL podcast would be like once Mike Trout plays against the Mariners. So 46 homers for Mike Trout against Seattle. He's number 1. Judge versus Baltimore with 39 homers. He's number 2. Harper versus Atlanta. He's 37. You have 3 more. Again, don't think too hard on one of them. You got 2 more AL East guys and then 1 AL West guy.
2 more AL East guys. Trying to think of AL East guys.
Again, don't think too hard.
Stanton versus the...
No, not Stanton.
Who else is on the Yankees?
Don't think too hard.
I'm blasted. I don't know.
Are you blasted? You're supposed to drive me home.
No, I'm not blasted, but I'm like, this is Summer Shady. It's delicious.
I'm kidding. Don't think too hard.
if you said the Yankees, I've already said Judge. I said Stanton.
But
Judge again?
Thank you.
Jesus Christ. Judge again versus the Boston Red Sox.
No.
Toronto Blue
Yes.
Jays.
So that's number 4. Judge versus Toronto, 35.
Jesus Christ, this Aaron Judge is decent.
He's pretty good.
Arson Judge.
So to wrap this up, because I just heard Vinny's chime, Altuve is 5th against Texas with 34 homers. And then this one I don't think you were going to get. JD Martinez versus Baltimore. Just owning the Baltimore Orioles. 34 homers for JD Martinez. Our guy, J. Ram, sitting there with 33 homers against the White Sox.
And try to get that record by the weekend.
You think he's going to hit, 13 more homers against the White Sox over the next 3 games? He's going to go on a tear. And then, that was a pretty brutal 8th inning for John Brebbia. Gives up a solo homer to J. Ram to make it 3-1. And then right after that, Josh Naylor hits a solo homer.
Absolute bomb.
To the moon, to Joe Borchard territory. Makes it 3-2. But then we saw Kopech come in for a 4-out save, and we will head out to Guaranteed Rate Field to chat with our good pal Vinnie Duber right after this break. We want to let you know about our friends over at Prize Picks. We came so close to hitting our entry that we gave out on the pregame show today. I had Ben Lively less than 5Ks. That hit, and then I had Erick Fedde more than 4Ks. That didn't hit, only 3Ks for Erick Fedde, but he was very, very good. I thought that he probably could have gone 7 innings, but he gave up 3 straight singles to start the 7th inning, so that really didn't give Pedro too much confidence to keep him in. But we do want to give you notice that Prize Picks is offering a free square for Caitlin Clark's debut game on Tuesday, May 14th. If Caitlin Clark gets at least 1 point in the square, then the square wins. There is a timer on the square, so users must add it to a lineup before the timer ends, before her first game. I put it into an entry. Caitlin Clark more than a half point in her debut, and Jalen Brunson more than 35.5 points against Indiana on Friday. He's been scoring basically 40 in every game, so I feel like this is a pretty good bet here. Pretty good entry for Prize Picks. They're the largest daily fantasy platform in North America, and they are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And with baseball season officially underway, there's no better way to cash in on the action with Prize Picks. Add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Pick lineups all season long, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more than or less than and add them to your Prize Pick lineup today. And we showed you on the pregame show how easy it is to get a Prize Pick entry submitted. You can do it in less than 60 seconds. So go check out the fun at prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
I don't know if you guys remember the Minnesota Timberwolves coming into Chicago, playing the Bulls here at the United Center, right down the street. And the Timberwolves were up big. And then the Bulls finally came back and got that game. You know what was special about that game? Our people who are diehards went there for that takeover. It was our CHGO Bulls takeover that night. And I'm sure people were like, same old Bulls are going to lose to this team. Hey, man. They came back and got the most exciting win of the season against a team that you see now in the Western Conference semifinals is doing very well for themselves in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hey, we have that same opportunity for you guys on the 27th of this month when KPW's Toronto Blue Jays come in town for Memorial Day. It's our takeover for CHGO White Sox, our first of the year. So if you want to become and you want to come out to the takeover on the 27th of May, go to allchgo.com and sign up on our events page, and you can be joining me, Sean, and Vinny out there in section 147. And if you are already a diehard, you get 20% off of that event. And if you want to become a diehard, you see Sarah's on the page right now. You go to allchgo.com /join -diehard /. It's right there on the in the descriptions right there. So you can become a diehard right now, today. Then after you become a diehard, join our CHGO Discord lounge and get 20% off of any event. All free all merchandise after that, 20% off. You get a free t-shirt after you become a diehard. All these things you get becoming a diehard for CHGO. So let's read the read and finish it off. So don't miss a chance for you to have a great time with our growing community. Become a diehard today, and you'll be the first one to know when our next event will be. We have 3 takeovers this year. one right there on May 27th, one on June 24th versus the LA Dodgers. You could see Shohei Ohtani come to town. And then the Cubs on August 9th with fireworks after the show. So you can go to that events page and buy a package with all three of those included, and you get a T-shirt included into your package. So if you just want to buy one, that's cool. But if you want to take care of all three of those and join me and Sean at all three of those diehard events
And get a shirt.
why not? So
Why not?
you get 20% off events and much more. If you want to hang out with us and not have FOMO like those people who didn't go to that Minnesota Timberwolves Chicago Bulls game, go to allchgo.com today.
Look into his eyes and tell him why not. Tell Herb Lawrence, the eyes of a puppy dog, that you're not going to go to the takeover. Break his heart. Go and do it. All right? Why not? Come on. It's going to be a good time. Anyways, let's head out to Guaranteed Rate Field to a victorious White Sox clubhouse, to Vinnie Duber, CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his latest article up at allchgo.com. Is Bryan Ramos here to stay? White Sox potential third baseman of the future, taking advantage of opportunity. Vinnie, we talked about this before you joined. Herb's ready to bench Yoan Moncada. Is that going to happen?
No.
Oh.
But the point is that you don't have to even think about that for another 3 months, basically, maybe a little less than 3 months. But Yoan Moncada is not expected back until after the All-Star break. I think the more pressing thing will be Danny Mendick, and I think everybody probably hears that and goes, what in the world are you talking about? Why would Danny Mendick start over Bryan Ramos, who's not just a part of the future, but also hitting very well at the moment? That probably won't happen, and we'll see. Obviously, Zach Remillard is on this team. He was brought up when they traded Robbie Grossman, so he's back on the 40-man roster. It could be quite as simple as Danny Mendick comes back, Zach Remillard goes down, and Bryan Ramos keeps starting at third base. I think it probably will end up that way. But remember, this is game number 6 for Bryan Ramos, and while it's been very impressive, there's a long way to go before the White Sox need to make a decision on him, or maybe would even want to make a decision on him, and things can change. So we'll see what Major League Pitching has in store for Bryan Ramos, whether they will figure out the chess match. But I think so far what you've seen is a young guy, a young player who was called up here basically because he was on the 40-man roster. He gets 5 starts in 6 games, and he is taking every advantage of it. He is playing not just well, the results are the results, and those are good, but he's playing like someone who belongs here. He's playing, under control. He's not overwhelmed by the fact that he's at the major league level. Last week he was in Double-A, and I think that that is what has impressed the White Sox the most, is that he's been unfazed by this challenge. The numbers down at Double-A were real bad. I think he was hitting under 200 for a healthy stretch of his season down there. And now he comes up here and he's getting 1 or 2 hits a game, it seems like, and finding himself in the middle of big moments, scoring runs, driving in runs, and doing what Pedro and the White Sox want to see from him. So this is a guy who will obviously get a chance to be a permanent member of the White Sox. I don't know if this is that chance. We'll see how it all plays out. But right now, if you're somebody who's been jonesing to see opportunity for young guys who might find themselves on that next contending White Sox team, here it is, and providing a little bit of excitement for fans in what has been an otherwise pretty miserable month and a half of baseball so far. Though that's a pretty negative way to end the first answer I've given you tonight on a night where they won a game.
Yeah, and speaking of another rookie where he came in the game with bases loaded in the 7th inning, we got Jordan Leisure, just nuts out there, just onions to the T. Bo Naylor strikes out Freeman and gets Manzardo to ground out. What did Pedro have to say about that harrowing performance? And the rookie, just no sweat. He was all good for it.
Yeah, basically the same thing that I just told you about Bryan Ramos is the same thing that Pedro said about Jordan Leisure, and he even referenced that because I asked basically the same question of him pregame about Ramos that I did postgame about Leisure, and he referenced the fact that, hey, remember what I told you earlier about Bryan Ramos kind of not being intimidated by the Major League Baseball atmosphere? Well, we've been seeing that from Jordan Leisure since opening day, right? I mean, this is a guy who's been on the team all year, made the team out of spring training, and really not once has he been kind of overwhelmed by a moment or overwhelmed by anything. This is a big moment, and he talked about after the game, Jordan did, saying this is about the biggest kind of moment that you as a reliever can step into, right? Bases loaded, nobody out. you let all those guys score and the game's tied. I mean, it's a huge moment, even though it's still early May for a team that is just got its 10th win. It's a big moment individually for that player, and to go out and have that kind of success shows composure. It shows dependability. I mean, Pedro reaffirmed how much confidence he has in sending Leisure out there for those moments, and success in those moments is only going to give him more confidence to send him out there the next time it happens. I mean, this guy's been in the big leagues for a month and a half, and he's probably one of, if not the most reliable reliever they have, it seems like. So he has been very impressive, again, not by just what the results are. Those are good, and you want positive results if you're the player or the team, absolutely, or the fans, absolutely. But it's just the ability to handle these moments, to not think that they're too big for you, that makes you effective and gets you to those results, and that's what we've seen from Jordan Leisure.
We still got to talk about the starter. I want to talk about the last 13 games for the Sox as well with the 7-6 record, but let's keep it in the bullpen because John Brebbia, even though he had been good in his last 3 outings, not so good today. Jose Ramirez hit a homer that was pretty much right off the actual home plate. So, I mean, pretty tough pitch to really be frustrated with. But then Josh Naylor hit one to the moon, putting Pedro Grifol and Michael Kopech in a tough spot for a 4-out save. If Jordan Leisure is the best White Sox reliever, maybe Kopech is the second best. Was good enough tonight. Did Pedro say anything specifically about Kopech and being in a 4-out save situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that he has no problem putting him into those, and that's certainly played out with what we've seen from how he's dispatched Kopech this season. He is not at all shy to send him out there in the 8th inning to then pitch into the 9th inning, and I think that Kopech's recent history as a starting pitcher, and I say recent, I mean February, right? I mean March. Recent history as a starting pitcher allows Pedro to have that confidence in doing that. There's nothing that Michael has shown that says he can't handle getting ready, going out there, throwing however many pitches he needs to throw, going into the dugout, coming back out and throwing more pitches. I mean, this is a guy who, as of 2 months ago, thought he was going to be a starting pitcher. And so his body is ready for that. His mind is ready for that, right? I mean, how many times have we seen really good closers in baseball? If you throw off that routine just a little bit, if you throw them out there to get you 1 out in the 8th inning and then they have to go out and get 3 in the 9th, it really kind of screws with them a little bit, right? And Michael Kopech, because of his history, is not a guy that's going to be affected in that way. Now, it doesn't mean that, Michael hasn't had his rougher moments this season, and because certainly he has. It hasn't all been pretty. It's not like he's got a 0 ERA, and even tonight, he gets the outs that he needed to get, but right after those back-to-back home runs, the first 2 outs that he gets are warning track fly balls. Like you could see where a few feet here, a few more miles per hour on the wind blowing in the correct direction, and this is a different kind of ball game. But when it comes to the workload aspect of this and what he's being asked to do, he can certainly handle that because he was going out there for getting up and down 4, 5, 6 times in a game. What's doing it once, kind of, or twice rather. So Pedro has the utmost confidence that Kopech's body can handle that. Now it's just a matter of doing that amazing work that he's been doing on the pitching mound with the utmost consistency. And maybe he does turn into that elite kind of 9th inning guy that both Pedro and Ethan Katz have been talking about recently.
I know we're going to get to Fetti in a second, but I want to talk about the early offense the White Sox had. And I turned to Sean when they had 3 runs, like in the 4th inning, and or 3 runs total when it was the 4th inning. I was like, God, they should attack this guy a little bit more. And I know Lively came in with a low 2 ERA, so, he had some success versus other teams. But seeing his arsenal, it wasn't that overwhelming. And the White Sox early in the game just were doubling off the hell out of him. And so what went into the game plan? Did they talk about, they had a game plan versus him because they were crushing the guy early, and then he kind of settled in and calmed down and didn't give up anything after that?
It's probably just an example of taking advantage where you can, right? I mean, we've talked about it in the macro with Bryan Ramos saying, hey, you're going to get some run because Yoan Moncada is so far off from coming back. Take advantage of it while you can because it might not be there. The White Sox offense in the micro did a similar thing tonight, right? 3 innings, they get 7 hits in 3 innings, and I think the Guardians only had 1 off of Erick Fedde in that same time frame. And then after that 3rd inning, Sox only had 1 hit the rest of the game. And the Guardians obviously turned it on against both Fetti and Brebbia later in the game. But, sometimes your chances are fleeting like that. And the White Sox were able to cash in just enough tonight. I'm sure they would have liked to have more. I'm sure they would have liked to do what you were saying, keep jumping all over them, and they probably tried. I'm sure they certainly tried. But the chances there dried up with what the pitcher was able to give them. But give them some credit, because I don't think we've seen that many, extra base hits, scattered in that small of a time frame by this team this year at all. So they were able to do the damage when they could, and it ended up proving to be just barely enough for a win.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to Tommy Pham leading off for the Sox again, going 2 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. He's now hitting .313, getting on base at a .340 clip with a slugging percentage of .500. Sox are 7-6 when he has been on the 26-man roster. Am I wrong to pinpoint this as a Tommy Pham effect? Because we've talked about, his intensity and his pretty much idea of you don't have to get ready if you're staying ready. And he, as John Triffid says, you can always find him in the weight room. Is this a Tommy Pham effect? Is this finally one of their veteran signings truly making a push? Or am I just, pinpointing it to one certain date a little bit too specifically?
Probably the latter, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't been very good and that his effect on the offense hasn't been quite impressive, because I think whether you want to attribute it to his personality or his work ethic spreading throughout the team, I'm not quite sure how realistic that is, but he's getting on base, right? And that's one thing that the White Sox throughout the first several weeks of the season did not have. They just didn't have guys getting on base. They didn't have guys hitting leadoff doubles to set people up for RBI opportunities early in the game. It's a lot easier to win a game when you score early than it is to try to chase from behind. And him being at the top of the lineup, or he's been in the middle of it sometimes, but him being at the top of the lineup and having that success there kind of drives everything else. How many years did we talk about Tim Anderson being that great leadoff hitter allows the entire offense to look better because he's giving chances for them to score runs? Here's Tommy Pham doing something similar. I think that the White Sox in general are just playing better, right? They're getting some more consistent starting pitching performances from guys like Fetti and Garrett Crochet. Certainly we talked about Chris Flexen yesterday and what he's been able to do of late. They're getting those consistent late inning moments from guys like Leisure, and they're getting more consistent hitting, where the only consistent thing about the hitting in the early going was that it was non-existent. You heard in the clubhouse tonight after the game the kind of talking about, hey, this is what we thought we would be. You know what I mean? This is the kind of team we expected. Even if you didn't expect them to win many games like we all did before the season started, none of us expected them to just be coming up bone dry on a nightly basis, right? And so here you have a team that maybe isn't setting the world on fire by any stretch over the last, what you said, their 13 games, but at least they're doing more of what they thought they were doing by putting themselves in position to win games, playing a little better. We're not seeing perfect baseball by any stretch, but we're seeing something that looks a lot different than those first 2-3 weeks when it was just, everything that was possibly able to go wrong was going wrong.
Starting pitcher Erick Fedde again, brilliant. I mean, ran out of gas in the 7th inning, and we kind of seen the same thing that happened in St. Louis where he gave up 5 earned runs there. But under 80 pitches before the 7th inning started, and he was pitching to contact mostly. What did he have, 3 strikeouts today, Sean? And nothing really spectacular today. He just worked the game plan just like he did versus the Twins. They're loading 7 up, 7 left-handers against him, so he's going to shelve his sweeper for the most part and go to the secondary pitches. What did Pedro and Eric himself say about their outing today, and how does he get from the guy he was today, which was phenomenal, to that guy who can finish that 7th inning and push through? Because he finished with the under 90 pitches, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure if that 7th inning was, entirely the worst thing in the world. You didn't see a lot of hard contact in those 3 hits, but hey, the guys all ended up on base, right? I think, Pedro talked about how he might have actually gone to Leisure a batter sooner if it wasn't Fetti on the mound, because Fetti has a tendency to get those ground balls. And hey, if you can get a double play, all of a sudden that inning becomes a lot less scary, and you don't necessarily have to rush out to go to the bullpen. Once the third guy gets on there, then obviously it's time to bring in a different look. But listen, he was excellent through 6 innings. He didn't allow anything in the run column, at least. And Fetti, after the game, was talking about how Cleveland was being really aggressive, swinging at a lot of first pitches, and I think he used that to his advantage, or at least was able to battle in a way that allowed him to navigate it, right? So he has been really good of late. I really am starting to see a guy who, when he goes out there, you as the White Sox, or as the White Sox fans, have to be confident that he's going to give you a good start, that he's going to give you maybe a quality, the definition of a quality start pretty much every time he goes out there. That's how he's looking right now. We'll see if that obviously continues, but this is the guy I think that they envisioned they were going to get when they signed him, coming off of his great success that he had in Korea. I think they're seeing exactly what they hoped they would see from him. I don't think anybody's putting him in the Cy Young race just yet, but he's been dependable, reliable, and I think that's the key. That ERA is three even. Yeah. He's been very good.
I think we've anointed him leader in the clubhouse for All-Star, for 2024 White Sox All-Star right now, as of May 9th. I know Crochet's been good, and maybe he'll be able to enhance his resume tomorrow. But I think right now, if I was asked by Rob Manfred, I would say Erick Fedde. If he came to me and said, hey, who's your 2024 White Sox All-Star? I'll go with Erick Fedde. Vinny, I got some more things that I want to get to that are off the field. The Sun-Times had a report about stadium and the TV deal and the ongoings with that. But before we leave the stadium, I know there's a somewhat update on Luis Robert Jr. We try to talk about what was going to happen with Luis Robert Jr. in Arizona, and it seems like there's been sort of an update.
Yeah, just because obviously there were only 2 reporters down there when they got their update from the White Sox yesterday in St. Pete. Obviously the rest of the White Sox media wanted to get an update as well, and so we asked about it again. That setback that was mentioned yesterday, it seems to be behind Luis. I think I saw some confusion on social media, but I don't think anybody ever said, like, he's in the middle of a setback right now. Just yesterday, it's that we learned about it yesterday. So apparently the setback part of it, the feeling tight, or I think Pedro's talked about it as he felt it grab a little bit or something like that, is in the past. But that means he has been set back, and so he has to build it back up to where he was. They want to get him to 90% running, which I'm pretty sure we heard from Pedro being a target, for Luis the last time they were at home and the last time they updated us here at the ballpark. But he's not there now, and so I think over the next week, it sounded like 5 to 7 days is what Pedro said. They're going to try to get him back up to 90% running, and then once he's there, then they'll take the next step, and that, I guess, sounds like it's probably a rehab assignment with a minor league affiliate.
Yeah, and I know that Sean asked you earlier about the Tommy Pham effect. I think it's real. Like, not necessarily Tommy Pham, but this team feels different. It just feels like, late games, they're going to hold on to wins. They're going to compete a little bit more than they did early in April because of circumstances and because they have better personnel, I believe. And so to answer your question, maybe it is Tommy Pham. The player's scared of giving less than 100% because Tommy's going to come and see him. But you can tell that it's a little bit different. And maybe the opponents they're facing aren't the greatest because the Cardinals are terrible and the Rays, they pretty much took the season series from them. So it could just be of circumstance, but I could see the team just playing a little better. Are they world beaters? Are they going to be compete for the AL Central? Hell no. Even if they win this whole series, they're 12 games behind the Guardians. But it's good to see them competing now. It's good to see them actually looking good, except for that Andrew Benintendi error that wasn't called an error, which is ridiculous. Is Bob Rosenberg still up there?
No, I believe I said I made the same exclamation when the official score came down. But I did have somebody tell me that I think that or what they said was the rule of thumb is when you see somebody lose it in the lights, it's not an error. It's that the scoring I guess, preference when that specific thing happens is to give it a hit. I don't know why, really. That doesn't really make sense to me. You would think that losing the ball in the lights is the error part of it. But that's what I was told. And so that's interesting if that's the case. I find that interesting.
Did he lose it in the lights, or did he just not catch it? It seemed like he just didn't catch it and closed his glove too early.
Well, he obviously did both by the end of it. But remember, we saw that exact same play yesterday by Gavin Sheets. Gavin Sheets caught that ball down in St. Petersburg, but he made that exact same move with his body where he was kind of, half bent over. That makes no sense for me to do it. To make that pose in this tiny little rectangle. But he kind of bent over and, at the last minute kind of stuck his glove out kind of waist high, which is extraordinarily weird. And when you see the play made, you're like, why in the world would he try to catch the ball like that? Tonight, you see that play not made by Benintendi. Obviously, the ball still went in the glove and bounced out kind of, but I think that was the exact same thing that happened to Gavin Sheets yesterday. And Steve Stone said on the broadcast, usually when you see somebody do something like that, it means they lose it in the lights. And so was my instant thought when I saw Benintendi do that tonight.
Hey, Sarah, you need to get him a better parallelogram. Maybe a bigger rectangle, a rhombus.
I can work on that.
So let's save it for when I need to make physical demonstrations again.
Yeah, make them a 16 by 19 widescreen. There was a term I learned today from baseball writer Sam Miller called pebble hunting. So back in the day, infielders, when they had basically what Paul DeYoung happened to him, where he kind of olayed that ball, they would look for the pebble that made the ball bounce away from him and try to blame it on the pebble that was there. Kind of like when you looking up into the sun and you're blaming the sun, like, I couldn't see because of the sun. So, hey, maybe Benintendi was out there trying to find that pebble that made him drop that ball. All right. The one thing I wanted to bring up that we haven't and really doesn't have to do anything with on the field is Jeff Agris from the Sun-Times did report further on how to watch White Sox baseball, Bulls basketball, and Blackhawks hockey coming up with the NBC Sports Chicago deal expiring. From Jeff Agris in the Sun-Times, stadium will be the RSN, so how you will watch regionally will be from stadium. Standard Media Group is investing in the network, and they are planning on helping get distribution for the RSN stadium, and then Stadium is planning to maintain some continuity from NBC Sports Chicago staffing. So kind of what we talked about last, I believe on Tuesday, just that Standard Media is trying to get into the media business. They tried to get into the Tegna company by buying Tegna for $8.6 billion. They couldn't do that. It seems like Standard Media is providing the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf, the Bulls, and Blackhawks with capital to fund and to staff Stadium as a true RSN. So nothing too surprising for the White Sox, Bulls, and Blackhawks network, but at least further updating from there. All right, anything else you guys want to add, whether it be TV related or White Sox baseball related, before we get out of here? We'll be back on Sunday for a post-game show to wrap up this 4-game series between the Guardians and Sox.
I've got something for you. We've heard in the past, or you saw in the past, obviously when Liam Hendricks was here, they had the Lego, Marvel thing that they would give out to the relievers. There was the Thor's hammer. There was I believe they had the Infinity Gauntlet, made of Legos. That was Liam's whole thing. There is a version of that this year that was spotted in Jordan Leisure's locker after his excellent relief appearance tonight. It is a White Sox championship wrestling belt, and how fitting that we learn about this, which apparently it's been going on since shortly after the season began, but how fitting that we learn about it on what was wrestling night at the ballpark.
Do we know what earns somebody the wrestling belt?
Apparently there's one for both pitcher of the game and hitter of the game, or position player of the game, I should say, which, if you'll remember back to when they were doing how have there been so many of these in just a few short time? They had the Randy Moss jerseys. Remember that they dug up out of some vintage store or something like that, and there would be one hanging in a pitcher's locker and one hanging in a position player's locker after the game. These have been a little less or a little bit more inconspicuous so far, but perhaps not too many chances to hand them out with the only 10 wins on the board. But Jordan Leisure, his efforts earned him that tonight.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out on who's the reigning champ is each and every night. So we'll get a report from Vinny on who has the belt on Sunday for the White Sox if there's a win.
Well, and now you make, I mean, what if it's like, buried under somebody's shirt or something? Like now I've got to go, dig around people's laundry?
Yes.
Come on now.
You have to report, Vinny. You have to report on the insights of the clubhouse. You have to go and, hey, maybe hopefully no one thinks you're stealing, but, get those hands dirty. Dig through Tommy Pham's bag and just make sure that he doesn't see you,
that guy.
digging in it. Just watch your neck. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and you can read his latest piece about Bryan Ramos up at allchgo.com. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Ectorwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader, and I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show, and you can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.